down the hammer and pick up the pencil. You're about to listen to the Savvy Radio Show. Learn from real-life real estate investors, experience revealed with the Savvy Landlord as your host.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls from around the world, you tuned in to what? The Savvy Radio Show. Man, I'm bringing you people that I don't even know. That's how we roll here on the radio show. We're just fascinated how people get around and succeed in life and fulfill their dreams. And so anyway, I was just recently in Ohio at the Ohio RIA Summit Convention, real estate, blah, blah, blah. They've changed the name 10 times, and I'm not keeping track of that crap. But I did run into this wonderful man, young man at that. His name is Will McCulloch, and he's a guy that is a real estate investor smart enough to hang out with a bunch of people at a restaurant. And you are a young-looking guy. How old are you?
I'm 36.
36. You look like you're 25 in my world, but 36 years old. And we just, the night before, or maybe it was the same night, people were like, hey, ask for someone's business card. Don't give a business card. Mm-hmm. Did you hear Bill Cook talk about that? Okay. So I was just literally, that was one of my takeaways of the Ohio RIA. And I'm at this restaurant, and this young 35-year-old guy across the hall, I'm like, I want a business card. And Big Daddy Will, that's what I'm going to call you, Big Daddy Will, comes out with this metal business card that I was like, wow, it was a jaw dropper. And I was like, that's cool. And so now the whole table at this Mexican restaurant is up in arms over this business card. And this kid is sitting there hanging out, just like, yeah, I do this all the time kind of vibe. Not arrogant, not pompous, just straight up like confidence. And I was like, okay, I can't get a read on this kid. I don't know him from Adam. And the crazy thing is I gave your business card to Brad Grayson across on the other side of the table. And Brad was amped up. And Brad was like, I want that business card. And I'm like, what the freak? Like, this is 2020, 2019. People don't have business cards. And I just getting convicted just the night before, and now I'm getting slapped with the silver platinum metal business card that I've never seen before. So that was already intriguing. I was like, this is interesting. So this is, ladies and gentlemen, this is how I met this guy at a restaurant with a bunch of random investors, and this guy sat across and over. And so
it was random. It was
straight random, but you're a baller. And so that's why you got to be on the Savvy Radio Show, period. So everything's going great. We're chit-chatting with the random people, and, you don't know anyone. And so the great thing, what happened, how I really met Mr. McCulloch here, is that I started talking about giving gifts to clients. And Will, like Christmas tree, went full force, lit up like a firecracker. I have never met anyone get excited about giving things away. Now, the interesting thing is I am like this. My love language is gifts and acts of service. Like my wife is quality time and words of affirmation. Opposite in my mind.
What's that mean? What's a love language?
It's a book called Gary Chapman called The 5 Love Languages. Have you read that?
Mm-mm.
Oh my goodness, dude, we're about to break it down. So are you married?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, you got to get it done. So it's a book about basically speaking to people's love language. If you know who you're working with, for example, like my wife tries to, do stuff for me. It doesn't work for me because my love language is, she's like, she'll tell me, hey, you're a great man. That's not my love language. Or you're sexy. That helps, but that's not my love language, right? My love language is gifts and acts of service. Like, you went around and you folded my laundry. That fills my love bank. And the more love bank I have, the better. So, and I know that.
So this is how you show you care to other people.
Well, this is how you fulfill other people. So you got to understand their love language. So anyway, I don't even want to while we're on that subject, but homie, you need to read the book. You'll have a better marriage. Just period. You got to find out what Okay,
it's on the list.
My wife read this book and she rolled over one night. She's like, "What's your love language?" I'm like, "Dude, it's 9:00 at night. My love language is sleep." But
Mm-hmm.
when you really
That's right.
genuinely get this love language, I apply this to my business. And Will, you're already ahead of the game. So what happened was, so Will gets all this great camaraderie on this business card. I mean, and I looked at Will's eyes because I study and read everyone in the room, and Will doesn't even flinch on the business card. It's like, here's my business card, you know. And everybody's like, ooh and ah.
I knew what was coming. I did. It wasn't my first time I've thrown that card out, and I knew what was going to happen.
Well,
although I have to say, that got a much bigger reaction than I thought it was going to.
I mean, we're passing this dude's card around.
The quality was the same, but man, the volume was up.
Well, that's not the point, though. The introduction to who you are is that you lit up when I mentioned about giving people gifts for services rendered. Like I drop ship gifts to my title company, or, you know, like someone gave me, they did a transaction with me and they mailed me a gift.
Right.
So when I said that, Will McCulloch here got all amped up, like you actually turned up a notch, and you were like, you were on fire. Like I could have stole $100 from you because you were so like lit up like a Christmas tree. You were like, yeah, have you read this book called Giftology? And I was like, what? I'm like, who is this kid across from me telling me about a book? And I was like, whoa, I've never even seen that before in a long time. And you were like, man, and then it was like, now I was like, I met my match, this Will guy, metal business card dude, don't know it from Adam. I've seen you last year. You were across the table from me, and then now you're lit up and I'm lit up, and now we're sparring. And I'm like, I'm like, dude, I give gifts. You're like, I give gifts. And then you just trumped me when you said this. You don't even know this, dude. You don't even know. You're on the radio show. You don't even know why. And I was like, bro, and you're like, Stephen, have you ever sent someone a monogram gift? And I was like, no. What's that? He's like, not just buying someone a gift, but really understanding the person and buying them a gift. So that really affected me. And I think I even talked about a podcast on that like a couple of weeks ago. I did a podcast on it. So a couple of weeks later, this guy, Will, calls me, hey, man, what's your home address or your address? So I sent him this address. I know this is the longest intro to date, but don't bear with me, guys. I'm just setting this up because you're going to get something out of this. So one day I come home and I hear a doorbell, ding dong. I open it up and there's this gray box, this little box. I open it up and I'm like, I think it says Tiffany's on there. And I'm like, what the freak? What is this? So I open this box and it's like super elaborate packaged. And you're like, and it's this giant blue Tiffany box. And you could just tell that it was hand folded box and ribbon, and I'm opening and like the care, you could tell. I was like, what the F is this? Who bought me this deal? I was looking for the monogram. No, I'm just playing. And I was like, whoa, what the and I just texted him right then. I'm like, the only person on this earth would send me a present like that would wow me. And so, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Savvy Radio Show. That was the introduction from whatever, the epic 2019. Welcome, Will, to the show. So, Will,
thank you so much.
Where'd you learn this? You're 30-something years old. I asked you off air. I was like, how long you been in real estate? You were like, well, since I was young. I was like, ooh, okay. And then I asked Will another question, and he's like, ooh. So let's get to the basic questions here. You said you started at a young age. I know you said you just told me 2 minutes ago you've been doing it kind of seriously for about 2 years. Tell us how you got into real estate.
So my parents bought a fixer-upper when I was about 6 years old, and we lived in this house, and my dad took it upon himself to spend more or less every weekend and quite a few weeknights tearing this house apart and putting it back together. And so I got to learn a lot of really practical skills like, you know, how to fix drywall, how to put up tile, how to paint, how to sand wood floors and refinish them. And by about the time I was in third grade, we were at the electrical phase. And so I became the third grade electrician. My job was to go out to the garage and the old-timey fuse box and unscrew the glass fuse, make sure I had the right one, go like plug the little tester in to make sure that the power was off, unscrew the outlet, take it all off, put a new one on there, wrap the wire, around the post. None of this poking it into the back. We do it the right way with the pliers and everything, and then put it back in the wall. Put the fuse back in. Double check that it makes proper electrical contact, and most of the time I was unsupervised in that job.
Oh yeah, and you were like 6 years old?
Yeah, I was probably about 8 by that time. And I think now, now that I have my own kids, the thought of doing that is terrifying, and they'd probably haul me away. But that was how I got started. And
so you saw your dad be an entrepreneur, real estate investor. So did he buy more units growing up, or?
No, he didn't. This was just for us. I mean, he had, a regular old 9-to-5 job, and this was just a way to kind of build up equity. My parents were kind of just starting out, very first house and everything. And my mom was a stay-at-home mom, so, she didn't have an income coming in, and this was just a way to buy something cheap and improve it. And we ended up selling that house for about double what we had into it.
Wow.
So that was kind
value.
of a dramatic value. Yeah. And, people can still do that. Of course, now what we're finding is our buyers really want everything done for them. But not that long ago, it was pretty common for people buying their first house to get a fixer and get in there and kind of roll up their sleeves and do the work themselves. And so that's kind of my background on that. And then, fast forward a few years, the very first job I ever had outside of, getting paid by my parents was I went to work for one of my friend's parents, and we were probably in junior high by that point. And he and I and his dad would go out and we laid septic lines. So like a new septic field. And there I got to learn how to do the pipe glue and, setting the depth and like taking a survey, when you got the little tripod out and the little yardstick and you measure how deep your hole is and so forth. So I got to do that. And then when I got to college, I joined a fraternity, and this fraternity the house was just disgusting. I mean, it was just a mess. And I took the biggest room in the whole house, also happened to be the nastiest. It was just it became kind of this dumping ground for things people didn't want anymore. And when it came time to choose which room you wanted, I said, I'll take that one. And everybody thought I was crazy because it was pretty gross. But I cleaned it all out. I pulled the carpet, pulled the trim, patched up the walls. I even built a little partition wall over the parts that I couldn't fix. And I had Berber carpet. I had nice new trim work. And I basically just built that room. It was like a small scale flip, one room flip. And
okay, hold on. Slow down, fraternity brother. What was your undergrad, or what were you going to school for?
Mm-hmm. Electrical engineering.
Oh, so super cool. So when you're 6 or 8, your dad planted this random seed. So
it served me well.
So you were
Yep.
Now, when you say electrical engineering, is it like boots on the ground or trying to do schematics and figure stuff out from an office space?
I mean, I've done both. My current job is largely paper based, but I do a lot of things kind of on the side that satisfy that need to, actually get to something physical. And that's actually a big part of why I came back to real estate. I mean, I was planning on doing it anyway, but being separated from the actual nuts and bolts, it started to wear on me. I never wanted my job to be fully, paper based and computer based. So I took some other little jobs. I built a couple of computers, which I was very proud of. But it came to the point where it was like, okay, it's time to get going on this. I'd sort of had this dream on the shelf for many years for, various reasons, family and career and stuff. And we kind of got to a point where my 4 kids were getting a little bit older. They weren't babies anymore, and we were able to kind of find some more free time to where my wife wasn't, terrified to have me leave the house. And so I said, okay, it's time. And I started looking around on the internet for ways to learn about real estate, and I found my local RIA group. So if you haven't heard this term before, it's Real Estate Investing Association Group. And the local one here is called CIRIA, Central Indiana RIA. So shout out to you guys. And I know you're friends with Lee Smith, right? Friend of the show, yeah. Lee Smith.
Oh yeah.
He's been one of my group leaders in the past. So yeah. So and that's kind of how I got connected. Really to all of this tremendous information. And not only that, I mean, there's so many investors there who are looking for younger people or newer people, to kind of guide them through and to hook up for JV partnerships. And so that's actually what I'm going to do. As soon as we get off the phone here, I'm going to meet with another investor who's, looking to fund my next deal.
Oh, I love that. I love private money. So tell us the scope of your business. I mean, you have a day job, right? You're still an engineer. How many units do you have now, or where are we at with that?
Yeah, so I don't do any rentals. That's something that I will probably do in the future. As of right now, I really wanted to do the flips. I wanted to get hands-on. I wanted to, practically take the bulldozer to the house, tear it all apart and put it back together, because that's kind of where I came from. And I've been able to do that this year. I should back up a step. I got hooked up with a couple of extremely good house flipping mentors last year. And they had this fantastic idea where they do kind of a boot camp style weekend of basically classroom education. And then after that, they give you the option to go in on a real flip with them. And you bring the money, they split it up, put everything in the pot, and we do a flip. And I did that. It was by far, hands down, the most interesting experience, and gave me the most, phone numbers, gave me the most contractors, gave me the most knowledge, being able to go through that and have, essentially hands-on learning for several months.
Did it yield? Did you give us some numbers on that transaction?
Yeah. So this was a smaller deal. It was a condominium here in Indianapolis, and it was, I want to say our purchase price was maybe a little less than $40,000. We put about $30K into it and sold it for a little over $92,000.
Cool. And how was the time frame?
That process, yeah, it took about, I want to say, let's see, we probably had 3 months in it before it hit the market, and sold first day on the market.
Is that just how hot the market is? I know that's like that around here. Is that just their business model? Did they warn you about it could take longer? And then did you split it? Yep. Did you split it with them? Was it so you walked away with roughly around $10,000 or $8,000 plus the education? Yeah,
and essentially you're not really doing it for the return. The return's kind of gravy. You're doing it for the experience.
Cool.
And one of the parts of that I didn't expect, I didn't see this coming. When they charge you that money, really what you're doing is you're giving them an interest-free loan. And being parted from that money the first time is a learning experience in and of itself. Because when you got that money out, you can't spend it. And it's kind of scary.
So you're talking about the initial loan to get it. So did you go and get the bank loan?
We didn't get a bank loan. We just pooled our money.
Okay. It was several people. Okay. Yeah. So it was not just you alone. It was you and some other students that pulled.
That's right.
Okay, pulled the $70,000 or whatever together, and then you guys worked on this together. So these people just directed this coach, I guess per se, just kind of coached you on, hey, you need to call this contractor, and this is what's up. And so they guided you. They had no financial interest. They just had workmen, human capital in it of guiding you. And so you learned boots on the ground, face to the floor, figuring out where to order windows, what paint to buy, where to get it, what price to pay. And they held your hand. And then
who to call, who not to call.
Okay. And then they, at the end of the deal, and they had 3 months of time invested in it, they walked you through closing, and then we all separated the checks of the profit.
That's right.
Cool. So, man, so now you're trying to do the same thing on your own now. Now you're trying to be the lead, and you're trying to use someone else's money. Is that right?
Yeah, and I have a deal that happened in between that actually as well. So I got my first property, what I like to call the training wheels off property.
Okay.
I bought that at the beginning of 2019, and we didn't start the reno right away. We're probably about 9 months through that, and it was to the studs renovation. So it's big. The house isn't all that big, but it needed everything. So I'm getting very close to wrapping that one up. I did that with a combination of private money and my own money. And what I found was people had no problem lending to me if I had a significant amount of skin in the game. Mm-hmm. Lenders were very happy to lend to me. Now, if I had gone into that and said, hey, I've never done this before, I heard on HGTV you can flip houses, how about you give me a loan? That conversation would have gone very differently. Mm-hmm. So what I was able to do was get this experience under my belt, have these mentors, have their phone numbers so I can call them when something goes wrong, and be able to go and show a lender, hey, I've actually already done this before. True, it wasn't all by myself, but I've done it. And I mean, that was just such a great launch to be able to break into this business.
I mean, all right, bro, you're like real positive Sally here. Like your voice sounds, hey, this is great. I mean, let's talk about the reality of death with your money. And were you scared at all? You're so smooth. Like your parents probably got to be
terrifying. Okay, it's terrifying when you first start out. Yeah.
Okay, so like, what gave you the gumption? I mean, you had the experience as a young lad. You see that it's possible physically. Okay, mm-hmm. Then you get adorned with a good degree, and you get a decent job as an engineer. Get it? You have some savings. Yep. You have the ability. You're probably getting paid more than you need to survive on. Not overly, but enough to have a cushion. And if you needed 10,000. You can wait 10 months or 12 months and you can probably come back up with 10. So you knew in your mind, I'm just assuming because I'm a calculated individual and most engineers figure this out real quickly when I'm coaching them. Like, okay, what's my worst case scenario? But what gave you the gumption to pull the trigger? Was it Lee Smith? Was it the group? Was it your wife? Was it you're looking at your 4 babies saying, hey, college is going to be $200,000? What stuck you to jump off the ledge?
I came to the conclusion that I had chased enough money in my life, and it was time to start chasing meaning. And too often, we're so excited about getting paid, we almost don't care what we do. And I've been there, so I'm not criticizing. Mm-hmm. But eventually you get to the point where it's like, life's finite. I've got some stuff I'd like to do, and I'm just doing it. I'm just going to do it, and everything else is details. Bro, this is just going to happen, period.
Bro, you're speaking my language. Like, I think when you hit 42, 43, 44, you start thinking this way. 46, you're like, damn right, I'm thinking that way. And you're 35 and you're thinking that way. Let's tell us about the dynamic between your wife. I mean, most ladies in general are security driven. I mean, that's just, right. I think how a lot of them are wired. How was that conversation? Hey, baby girl, I'm gonna give people money that I don't know to buy a house that I'm never going to live in, to flip it and hopefully get paid. What was that conversation like?
So my wife knew exactly what kind of steps I was going through. In fact, I told her way more detail than she ever wanted to know.
That's because you're an engineer.
That's right. And eventually she kind of tunes out and just nods. But I made it clear to her. It was like, look, here are the steps that I've gone through. Here's what I learned. Here's how I did it. Here's who I will call if X, Y, and Z goes sideways. And, I had so much support in this network around me. And that was kind of, I'm sure if I hadn't insisted on it, she would have, but I had gone into it saying, I'm not going to do this without a net under me. It's a risky thing. It's an inherently risky thing to be investing in anything. And these are big numbers. I mean, with buying a stock, you can get a stock for a couple bucks, right? And if the worst should happen there, you're out a couple bucks. I mean, we're talking tens and hundreds of thousands with any single house. And so it was very important to me to have that network of people, and almost all of them did come from my local RIA. So again, I really want to push anybody who's out there and is serious about this. You need to get in touch with your local RIA group. If you can't find one, call somebody, email Steven, email me, whatever. We'll get it. You need that group. You need that group.
I just love the RIA group in general. You are an advocate because you were affected by it. You were
impactful.
Like when you sent me that gift, I'm like, it only spurred on passing it forward. Like who could I bless? What would be like? Here's a weird one. How would you answer this one? So okay, just as a side note, and then we'll get. I'm chasing a rabbit here, but so a dad in my neighborhood invited my son to a birthday party, and he says a surprise birthday party this Saturday, last notice. And I said, okay, great. I think I'm able to come. I think he can come, my son. I was like, what does he need, or what would he like that we can get him? And the interesting thing, the guy replies back with his son's name likes $100 bills. Now this guy, this dad is a little kind of, he's not, I don't know. I can't figure him out either. He's another one. And I was like, so I replied back because I like to be witty as well. And I replied back with, so do I. I like $100 bills. And so then I left it alone. And then this random thought came to my mind. Maybe it's because I was interviewing you today. I have no idea. But this thought came to my mind. What would it look like if I gave this guy a card with $100 bill in it for his son? Would it change the dynamic of the relationship? Would it make it feel like I'm buying them as a friend? Would they shit their pants? Because this pseudo fake rich savvy guy shows up with $100 bill. I mean, think about it. Like, what's your take on that?
How old's this kid?
He turns 8 or 9. He's got to be turning 9. Okay.
I would get him something that is a rite of passage. He's a little bit young. He's not quite into the manhood yet, but I'd get him something that's a rite of passage.
So
get him a shaving. Don't give him $100. No, that is.
I don't even want to give him like my budget's $25. Just like $20 like on Amazon is like my number. But I'm like,
give him. No, I got it. Okay. And I'm going to back this up with evidence too. Give him a shaving kit. Give him the travel kit that he's going to use to put, toothpaste and toothbrush and the razor and the hairbrush every time he goes anywhere.
Well, and I'll have it filled up.
Because, well, filled up or not, I mean, that's an important thing that every man's going to have at some point, because we all travel, and we got to take our stuffs with us.
Yep.
And let me tie this back to gifting, because I still have the one that my Aunt Patty gave me way back. It was probably $20. It's some cheapy one, but that was so special to me. And every time I go anywhere, including to that Ohio RIA conference, I think of her. She got me a gift that I can't imagine could have cost more than, $20 maybe.
Wow.
But that's a meaningful gift. $100 bill is not a meaningful gift. Even with the,
shock effect.
Inside joke, even with the inside joke of the kid likes the 100, if you wanted to bless somebody and give them the 100, maybe tuck that inside of something more meaningful. But,
no, I don't want to give them $100.
I've never gotten any bill that I wanted to frame and put on the mantle. Money is for spending, and it's the same thing with gift cards. You could get a gift card to Amazon, and how useful, because you can buy literally anything on Amazon. But I'm not framing that thing. I'm spending it, and I'm going to be honest, a couple of months afterward, I'm not going to remember what I spent it on. That has no real significance or meaning at all. It's nice. It's a nice thought.
So, okay.
But that's not going to stick and stay. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you are. Let's get into that, and then let's get into the vision of where you're going. So,
yeah,
what is your you have such a passion for gifting, and you lit up like a Christmas tree in the beginning. where is this coming from, and why are you so passionate about gift giving and the philosophy behind? Because I'm like that. Like, I really try to dial in on somebody and something that they could use, not throw away. I'm not a big flower person. I'm a gift.
Right.
I want to gift people.
Good. Yeah, let's talk about that. Let's talk about flowers. Let's talk about flowers and chocolate. Why not give those? Aren't they luxurious?
They're not remembered.
They're not remembered. They're a luxury, but they're not really practical. And they don't stick around. Right, they're consumables. So that's why if you read the book Giftology, you're going to get a good dose of this too. You want to try to give people practical luxuries. These are things that have meaning, and people will keep them around, and they don't have to be expensive. So when I say luxury, I don't want you to think expensive. I want you to think something that people can use and that are going to be kind of pampering or enjoyable, something nice, not necessarily something they need. It'd be the kind of gift where it's like, if I saw that in the store, I'd be like, oh, that'd be kind of nice. Oh, but that's kind of expensive. I'd probably never buy that for myself, but man, I'd really kind of like one of those. Those are the practical luxury gifts that I think have the most impact.
So, like, what's the reasoning behind it? Like, you sent me obviously $100 gift or above. I mean, I don't know if you need to tell me that. I
do. I wanted to talk to you about that. What happened when you got that? So you said you opened the box and you see that wonderful trademark blue.
I was very humbled. At first, I was like, why is this happening? And who is so thoughtful? And I don't deserve this. And then I open it up, and it's elaborately packed, and it can tell that it took a lot of care. And then I thought of you. And then the first thing I did was take a picture to let you know how important or how thankful I was for that gift. But still, to this day, I don't know why you bought me that gift.
Did your wife see it?
Yes. Now, remember,
what was her reaction?
She just, because I have this alter ego of the savvy landlord, and so she doesn't understand. I was like, I met this guy. He's amazing. I chatted with him, and he was passionate about gifts, and he sent me this. And she's like, she didn't understand why. Because she's practical. Okay. We already have wine glasses, and these are champagne. These are flutes that were very gorgeous. Like, I'd never seen glass that looks so legit. Like, I guess the glass that I have in my house is not Tiffany. but
so these are like a hand blown crystal. Yeah. So it's a luxury. It's maybe it's not quite as practical from your wife's perspective, but I've had very good luck giving this gift, and that's why I wanted to send it to you, so we could talk about it. We could talk about why it has this impact. It's the presentation. And yes, odds are, when you get a gift like this, you're not going to throw it away. It's not some pen or squeezy ball that's got my logo on it that I so thoughtfully sent to you, right? That's not, that stuff is everywhere, and it goes right into the trash can. Maybe I keep the pen, in the junk drawer for a while, and then it gets thrown away, and I never read what's on those things. Okay, that's why I don't think the whole branding model works all that well when you're trying to get someone's attention. Now, if you just happen to be, at a big meeting and you just want to get your name out, fine, that's fine. But when you're trying to get the attention of a high roller somewhere, and you send them some cheesy polo with your logo on it, they're not going to wear it. They got their own polos. You need something with some impact. And the way I like to think about these things is I don't even consider them gifts. These are all gestures for me. The metal business card is a gesture. It says, hey, I'm serious about this. It says, I've got a little bit of knowledge, and I'm not one of those people who's fly by night. And, these kind of gifts, they're really, the gift is almost irrelevant. It's the thought behind it that's important. And being able to get people's attention in this day and age when we've got our cell phones blowing up all the time, we're constantly bombarded with all sorts of messages from all the big, marketers and so forth. It's kind of like what Grant Cardone says about, I don't know you, I forget you. If I don't know you, I can't give you money. If I don't know you, I can't go to your website. If I don't know you, you got to get these people's attention. And everybody, there's so much competition. We need a way to cut through it. And I think this is the way to do it.
So just to kind of just articulate it very quickly, this is a tool that you use to get people's attention for business purposes.
It is.
Cool.
It is.
I love it.
But it's not only a tool, because, if I went into this and it was just real slimy about like, oh, this is just a bribe and I just want to, have some big expectation or make this a big transactional thing, it's not going to feel good for the person who's receiving the gift. And I know you talked about this recently. You brought up that example of there was a lady at the OREA conference, and she said something like, "Oh, I have this $50 ticket that I couldn't use for my husband, and I'll sell it to you for $20." Mm-hmm. And it's like, that was a letdown. And of course, it was a letdown because transactional gifts feel bad. That's essentially what
you hit it on the head. And it wasn't like that's crazy, Will, that you bring that up, because I was so conflicted in my heart because I was that person. But I'm trying not to,
right?
I'm trying not to be that person. Like, I want to give stuff out for free, but my flesh wants to be like, this is something due me because I purchased this. Mm-hmm. But what would it look like if you really bless someone that they were meant to come to this convention? Or how miser is it that you just she was willing to go to this thing, and she paid the $100 for the tickets, her and her husband couldn't go. She could have gave it to someone, and that could have been her new business partner.
Yep, absolutely.
But no, we turned it into a dumb transaction. And what you just said earlier,
absolutely,
whatever you just said,
yep, you got it.
Not the right vibe feeling. So this is interesting. So we're about 30 minutes in. So some people have a low attention span. So I have so much to ask you. So I'm going to speed this up a little bit. Okay. And I want to know, what other gifts have you given and what impact did they make?
Good question.
And how often do you do it? Is it like, it's almost like you're blessing people, like you're this Scrooge McDuck out there. I'm gonna. So tell us some background on that, and what gifts are really that, like, you blew my mind just 2 minutes ago about the shaving cream. I'm almost insecure. I'm like, am I going to step on this dad's toes because that's a man thing? But at the same time, I'm like, that is so powerful. And so I was like, man. Anyway, so come on, tell me something.
Okay. So I really like giving this gift set it's called Refresh Glass. And what they do is they take wine bottles and they recycle them into various types of, like, glassware, tumblers and candles and stuff like that. And the really cool thing about this is it's very affordable. I have sent this as a gift. It cost me maybe $45 or $50 for a 4-glass set. You can get them engraved and monogrammed, which I love, because it's about the recipient, not about the giver. So I've been able to do that. The thing that's like killer about this, though, is if you write a gift note, someone will handwrite that, and that's what will go out to the recipient. Cool. And nobody writes anything anymore. So anytime you can get handwritten, that is key. I would say avoid anything that comes from a place where anybody can get it. So no gifts from Walmart or Target, nothing from Amazon, unless it's, a custom thing that's sort of more like the Etsy kind of stuff. These don't have to be expensive things, like I mentioned before. And I'm going to break a rule that I have. I'm going to tell you how much that Tiffany & Co. thing was. Are you ready for this?
I guess $100.
You said 100 or more.
100
earlier.
Or more.
Shipped and everything, $54.31.
Wow, you're savvy. That's why you're on the radio show, homie.
But it has this huge impact, and I gave that to a mentor who was getting married. Oh. And really what I'm trying to do is I want the wife on my side.
Yes.
Okay? Because all too often, and this works, with my wife too. I'm going out to a job site. It means I'm taken away from the house. It means I can't be there with her. I can't be there helping with the kids. I can't be there for dinner. And so whoever it is that I'm going to meet kind of becomes a curse word in the house, right? That's kind of the way the wives turn it into. And it's happened to me before too. I'll be out at a site and somebody gets a phone call and it always goes the same way, right? Oh, hold on. I got to take this. Yeah, honey. Yep. I'm out with Will. No, my name just became a curse word. And then it's always later. Okay, bye. Right. It turned into a fight. And I don't want that. I don't want the wives to be upset with me. I don't want the families to be upset with me. I want them on my side. And one of the ways that you can do that is you can let the wives and the families and the husbands and whoever, you can let them know that they're important in all of this and they matter. And oftentimes, I want you to try an experiment next time you're at any kind of a meeting. You can always tell where there's a husband and wife who are there, and one of them's into the real estate and one of them is not.
Yeah,
and you can always tell because the one who's not, looking down at the phone or standing in the corner or whatever, go up to them and have a conversation. And I think you'll be surprised how good of a relationship you will have with that person's spouse.
Yeah.
Because they're kind of, wallflowering it during these meetings and they're not into it and stuff.
Yeah. I mean, well, you are so strategic. So, I mean, first of all, your parents should be proud of you. You have a lot of going on in your mind and you execute extremely well. And I do that. I zone in on the opposite side to build camaraderie and relationship because the man usually dominates and the lady usually has no interest. And she's doing it because she loves her husband and has a fake vision of maybe what's going to happen or not. But way to dial in on that. All right. So
let me give you a free one. Let me give you
and then we got to get into some goals and dreams here. Come on.
Okay.
Right.
Someone out there is saying, that's great, but I don't have the money. Here we go. Are you ready for this? Ready for this? Bless someone with a handwritten note telling them what they mean to you. Nobody does this anymore. Nobody handwrites anything. And if you want to really punch it up, go to them and read it to them. Recite what is in that to them. And they're going to hold on to that note forever. I mean, that's going in a place of honor in their house.
Yeah, you got to text me your address. I have a secret weapon. I actually write letters. I do today. I write letters at least 1 or 2 a week. And I have business cards on my desk that have people that I write letters to. A guy that I was at a commercial luncheon with, and I met him. We chatted for 30 minutes. He's an amazing older man in his late 60s. I wrote him a thank you card of just spending time with me and what he meant to me.
Absolutely.
And on that card I learned, and I can't remember the book that I read this in. Joyner is his last name, Joyner. And Simpleology. Okay. You might want to look into that book. Simpleology. Okay. This is one of my old mentors turned me onto this guy. And in that, I have thank you cards that I'm going to mail you. So you got to text me your address. I have thank you cards that have my face on them. And you can call Thomas Morgan because he has they're all plastered up on his wall. And I noticed once I wrote a thank you card to a realtor, and I went to his office several years later, and my face is on his wall with no one gets thank you cards of a thank you card that I sent him. And I learned that from that book, Simpleology, I believe. But
it's a great idea.
I think my face is outdated on there. It's several years old, so I'll buy. But they you are authentic. Your face is on there, not to be a realtor face, but just hey, identify. And people are floored, and they hang it up. And I have a thank you card on my wall right now. It's just my friend's logo. He's a realtor, and it's his logo, and it just has his name. And it just eventually you'll just throw it away but with someone's face on it, it's like a picture, and no one throws pictures away unless they break up. So here's a question for you. Where does it look like? So you waited a long time in your mind. To me, you're so young. You're going to be a millionaire before you're 40. I know it. I predict it. And when you hit that, you call me. Okay. You definitely need to get out of this flipping deal. No offense. Keep going. If you have enough volume and you got this JV going, joint venture, do it. You need to start buying assets ASAP, Ricky. Okay. Now, I know that you're smart, you're calculated, you got 4 children, you got a beautiful wife. What does it look like in your real estate career? And I just dropped that bomb on you. You're going to be a millionaire in 5 years. Will, what are you going to do? How are you going to execute that?
Ooh, good question. So I'm actually pursuing a couple of things right now. I'm getting ready to launch a direct mail campaign, trying to do some wholesaling to find those great deals. Things are pretty cutthroat right now. And so, trying to find anything on the MLS, it's tricky. It's not working for most people. So we're doing that. I am looking to launch my first written project.
Ooh,
I'm loath to call it a book. It's more like an experiment, but this will be kind of a project management notebook for doing flips and things.
Nice.
And did you ever read the Checklist Manifesto?
I actually did. It wore me out. I actually have that book, and I'm the only one. I love
that
systems.
Book. I love that.
I forgot about that book. I actually bought that book. I think I have it on Kindle.
So what I want to do,
it's like every checklist of the world.
Yeah. Yep. And it really what that teaches you is it's not that you need more knowledge. We have plenty of knowledge. Anything you need to know how to do, I'm sure YouTube can answer that. What we need to do is have the accountability and just remember the stupid little things that if we don't do them, they're going to cause huge problems.
Dude, you just dropped a nugget. Dude, you just dropped a nugget.
There you go.
So you got a book coming out that's like a project management. Is this for flips?
I'm gonna start it for flips because that's what I'm most comfortable with. And if it does well, I'll probably do some other ones for other kinds of real estate stuff.
Well, we own a publishing company here. Savvy Investors owns a publishing company called Teflon Publishing, and we actually produce products and services for young people. So whenever you get that up to a standard, because we have a network of people that buy that stuff, and we've been down that road, and so we love to just basically, I mean, we're not like a real publishing company where we own you. We just want to help you get it out there, and it helps our network. The more we help you, and we're trying to create a fan base, our company in Indiana and Ohio, and we're fortunate that we can speak there, and one day you'll come speak for us. So you come to Oklahoma, so whenever you get your crap together soon, we do have Investor Weekend in April in Oklahoma City. We do have Investor Weekend in Chattanooga, and we're trying to do it we're going to do one in Rockford, Illinois, not far from you. So whenever you get this book, because when people come to these seminars, they want to connect with you. And so, starting out like I did, in 2011, I wrote a book and people connect with me in that well. Nobody reads, so that. No one writes letters and no one reads. Everything's on YouTube. So why would we? All right. So, so the first thing is like you kind of, using that as a credibility kit. Smart. You are practicing on other people's money now, which you've already dialed in, and now you're creating an authority position by creating this book. Phenomenal. What's it look like on assets, and do you want to own them? Do you want to own businesses? Do you want to own an electrical engineering company? Do you want to own be an electric? How are you going to get passive income?
Yeah. So I really like what Augie Bylot teaches, and that guy is just crazy smart. I mean, between him and the knowledge that I've gotten from Vina Jones-Cox, I think there's probably like infinite money out there. If you can just put the knowledge from those two people together. I
say that all the time. It's infinite.
I think it'll just blow up. I think it'll just go crazy.
You just ask.
I really like, go ahead. You just have to ask for it. Yep, that's right. And so I really like the way that that Augie talks about, this creative financing, and I like the way that people are talking about creating mortgage notes now, where you are, selling to a buyer who, maybe doesn't have great credit. It's like my credit's bad, but my money's good type of person.
Yep.
Try to get those people into houses because they need a place to stay. Create the mortgage. And then you've essentially created an income stream, kind of like what you would get on a rental, but you don't own the house. So it's like you're getting rental income, but you have no real obligation to take care of the property at all.
Yeah, no maintenance.
So I really like that strategy.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, in Oklahoma, we have several instruments that we could use. One's called a contract for deed, lease purchase. There's all several ways of creative ways to not deal with the end result of property management and empower people to run their own home in essence and not, and have ownership in it in some form or fashion. All right. So we're going to wrap this up, man. We can go all day. So Will, tell me what's one thing that popped in your mind that you've learned that you need to share, that you don't want anyone else to have that same pain that you have had? Maybe it was on your flip. Maybe you hired the wrong something. Tell me one thing that really affected you.
I'm going to go back to what I said earlier about stop chasing things that aren't meaningful to you. You are likely to go crazy. I mean, that's a great way to lose your mind. Far too many people out there. I mean, you see the mental health problems that folks are having. I mean, I think suicide is like the maybe fourth leading cause of death in our country now. These are people who need help, and obviously sometimes it's going to be something that's a lot more serious. But I see a lot of people who they just don't have a great direction, and they need to be chasing whatever that thing is that's meaningful to them. Real estate is meaningful to me. It has some hold on me that I don't fully understand. And I think if you can figure out what it is you're supposed to be chasing, and then start asking yourself what lies you're telling yourself about success, because I think people are scared of succeeding, and you need to pick up the pen. This has kind of become my mantra. If you can pick up the pen, you can get your creative thoughts and your problems and everything kind of out of your head onto paper, get those goals onto the paper, so then you can start pursuing them. And far too many people, they come to real estate seminars or whatever it is, and they just kind of sit there. They're not writing anything down. You got to pick up the pen, put it on the paper, get moving. You got to do that. You got to execute, because all the knowledge in the world isn't particularly useful if you can't push forward. So really got to get those people around you, get that knowledge, and pick up the stinking pen.
Cool. I love it. And then the thing that I notice that people just lie to themselves that they can't do it, or they just got these lofty goals without putting any action or
exactly
behind it. All right.
Exactly.
So let's wrap up with a couple of. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yep. I was just going to say, I'm sure you have people come up to you after you give a speech, and they can't wait to tell you how much they love you, and they want to do just what you did and be rich.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, come on. We need more than that. Impress somebody. Impress one of those mentors or those speakers. Ask them a question that's relevant to whatever it was that they were just talking about.
Well,
and make it a specific question.
You heard that same podcast where I was like, some dude like, yeah, I met you a year ago, but I lost your phone number.
And
I was like, dude,
Jeez,
there is no excuse. That's a problem. That's your problem.
Yeah, you're not exactly hiding out there,
No. Anyway, okay, so I love books, and we've talked a lot about them. So let's refresh a couple of them that have impacted you. Giftology is one. What's another?
Yep. I really liked No More Dreaded Mondays. It's not specific to real estate, but if you have any interest in any business, you need to read that book. It's just fantastic. I really like the Checklist Manifesto.
So funny.
E-Myth was great. I don't know if you typically get into the battle between like Kiyosaki versus Dave Ramsey. I always tell people read Dave Ramsey. Read Dave Ramsey first, then read Kiyosaki, and then you'll have both sides, and you can kind of decide, how much of each one.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think they're all good. Yep. I would, if I had to choose one or the other, I'd probably choose Kiyosaki, because I probably would not be rich if it was for Ramsey, because I wouldn't have any capital.
Mm-hmm.
You need capital.
And that's the problem, because eventually you run out of money. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I mean, you can be debt free all you want, and then I mean, I love that debate. That's like my favorite debate. I mean, like, okay, I'm debt free in this thing called debt equity. I'm sitting on a $300 nest egg. My house is paid off. Great. What is that doing for me? It actually, I think it hinders society, because if I had $300,000 in cash, I'd pay my mortgage, but I can also put that money to work and make the economy move. If I just sat on 300, if the savers are hurting the world, and I don't want to get into it, but the reality is that's what it is. All right, man, dude, it's been phenomenal. So how many you've done? Like 2 flips, you said, so far? And so
starting on number 3.
Okay. And so 5 years, so 2025, you're going to have to hit the million. And I'm a
I'll
psycho.
mark the calendar.
If I don't die, I actually do have that in my calendar. I do have that in Trello, just so you know. I do have my goals all the way out, 5-10-year goals. I actually have my number goals written out. You need to do the same. And every 6 months, I have my goals pop up in my face on my phone. It says, are you living the life that you want to live? Are you moving forward in the direction you want them for? Are the people around you, are the people that you can borrow money from? And are they the people that you want to work with for the rest of your life? And so I just constantly reevaluate where I'm going and why am I doing it. But for you, young lad, who's very educated and smart, cannot wait to see you in 5 years. You need to put that in, like, at the end of the year or, third quarter. Hey, am I buying assets? What's your first goal of your asset? I want to make $1,000 a month net. That should be your first goal. It's great that you're flipping, you love it and you enjoy it. So make $1,000 a month off of your book. Can you speak at seminars? Can you coach people? How can you make some sort of now that's not residual income, but that would bring in or make a challenge to myself. Can I make $1,000 a month doing something that I would never thought of doing? And so I do some crazy challenges. I for a while I was coaching a ton of people just to see if I could do it. And then I realized this is not where I want to be. It becomes a job. And I really only want to invest in people that really want to do it. I don't want to take people's money just because I can. So you need to find out what, works. Selling books is very marginal. I mean, we're talking, I sell maybe a book a year. People don't read, but, and you're selling books at $3 on Kindle. It doesn't go real far. But, I think you're on the right path, and definitely I want to encourage you. You have the withal, and that's the word I've been trying to say this whole interview. So the withal, whatever it is, and I want to speak
the wherewithal.
The wherewithal. That's it. That's you. You have the verbiage. You have the class. You have the technology. You have the gift, dude. You are primed and ready. So stop being scared of buying assets and go buy them. And I love it that you're going to do wholesaling to find those assets. And if you need money, you figured out private money. There's a ton of private money in your area. If you can, I'll help you find that. And I'm excited. I'm serious. Like, you need to write down a 5-year goal. And I promise you can probably do it 3 years, but your job's in the way. But that's okay. That's going to help you borrow more money so you could leverage that job because you're a W-2 employee. Dude, you are ready for stardom. You have it. So make sure you consider that and write it down, Mr. Hypocrite, and write it down. I want a full-on plan. Okay?
All right.
When is it going to go?
All right.
First quarter, second quarter, how many units? I want to own 4 houses by the end of this year. I want to own 12 by this. I want to borrow at least, this much. I had friends that would just say, I'm going to borrow $1 million this year. I mean, and they figured that if I borrow $1 million, I get an average of 12% on my money, or 10. And if I borrow it at 6%, I'm going to make 4% a year on $1 million. Think about it. Those are all quantified ways that you can at least make the right steps to becoming, financially free and a millionaire. All right.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, homeboy. It's been a pleasure to meet you. Don't forget to text me your address so I can show you my gift cards and all the stuff that I send. I have all kind of weird stuff, and we're going to be pen pals.
Awesome, man. And can I ask a favor?
Sure.
Of your audience, if you have suggestions or comments for me, can you email me?
Yeah. What is it? Let everybody know.
It's WHM now, like right now. WHMnow@gmail.com. Let me know what you thought. I'm a zero inboxer guy, so anything you send, I read.
Cool.
So send me your comments. I'd love to hear them.
Dude, I would love just your willingness to receive. And, Hey, listen, you young investors out there that are doing flips, this guy would be a great mentor. I mean, anyone that loves the checklist manifesto, I had a checklist. There was a desperation in my life where I needed checklists, and that book came across. And it's like you're a fan. I haven't heard that book in years. So, hey, you're out there, get this guy. I mean, he's incredible. I wouldn't have him on the radio if I didn't believe in him. What's your email again?
WHMNOW@gmail.com.
Okay. Well, Big Will, I appreciate you, your time. Have a great Thanksgiving, and we'll talk to you soon.
You too, sir. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
What is the Savvy Boot Camp? Are you struggling to get to the next level as a business owner, as an investor? Do you want to multiply your income? Sign up for the Savvy Boot Camp, a strategic and supercharged one-night and one-day event designed to shortcut your learning process and propel you forward. Just value, no upsells, and an intimate setting to build relationships with like-minded investors. We will be covering how personality profiling can make you a millionaire, outsourcing and the nitty-gritty of maximizing your property management, scaling your business through systems and automation, technology hacks you should be using every day, and how to raise private money. Go to www.savvybootcamp.com now to register or to find out more.
Thanks for listening to the Savvy Radio Show. Glide online and listen to our other motivating episodes at savvyradioshow.com. Connect on Twitter @LandlordBook and always be buying assets.